Dr. Tha here, and today I'm going to talk about digital image watermarking in deep learning era. We'll be talking about some challenges and opportunities. Before I start, I just would like to share with you that why I actually picked this topic among so many topics that we can have or I'm currently working with actually. There are certain areas that they're not new, but mostly they're influenced by the traditional approaches like statistical approaches, spatial domain approaches, frequency domain approaches. So I'm talking about, for example, 2 decades back when we were working on digital image watermarking. But now we know that deep learning have revolutionized the entire paradigm. And the thing is that how can we come up with the new ideas and where potentially we can employ deep learning so that we can get more benefit out of it, and we can see that how digital image watermarking can be benefited from this technique actually. So this is the main purpose behind picking up this idea. So this is actually an older idea which was very much celebrated by using traditional techniques. But now, because we are now in the era of deep learning, machine learning, AI, and whatnot, so we want to see that what potentially areas in the paradigm of digital image watermarking where we can utilize deep learning and what potential benefits we can get out of it, what potential challenges could be there, and what are the potential opportunities. So in this regard, the agenda for today's talk will be that I will introduce the topic. I'll give some quick background about the digital image watermarking, particularly the requirements that are there for the digital image watermarking, what potentially we need over there. Then we'll move on to the challenges that are encountered, particularly in the traditional techniques. And then where it comes the presence of AI, machine learning, and deep learning. I'll actually love to go with the an emphasis on medical image watermarking. Then we'll go for some opportunities for digital deep learning in digital image watermarking, and then I will summarize and conclude it. So first we start with the quick introduction to digital image watermarking. So basically watermark is a secret message that is embedded into the cover message. So these messages could be of any type. For instance, they both can be voice, they both can be images, they both can be text. They can also be alternative. For example, we can embed voice into, for example, image. We can embed text into image. We can embed image into image. So these could be of any type. So secret message can be of any type of media, and cover media message can also be any type of media. So usually only the knowledge of secret key, formula, or mathematical function allows us to extract the watermark at the receiver side. So basically, before transmitting the media over some channel, the information that how to extract is usually available with the receiver in the form of some secret key, some formula, or some mathematical function. A quick difference between cryptography and watermarking I would like to tell. In cryptography, we cipher the image, or we cipher the data. It is purely imperceptible. But in terms of digital watermarking, the main image or the main message remain as it is. However, secretly we hide the watermark inside. So for a variety of purposes, for tamper detection, for copying detection, for different kind of attack detection, and so on and so forth. So this will come in the discussion. It has a mathematical property that allows us to argue that its presence is the result of some deliberate action, if there is any. As far as the effectiveness of watermark is concerned, it's actually a function of robustness, how much it can withstand some certain attacks, capacity, how much payload we can insert into the cover image. Imperceptibility is after inserting the watermark, the image or the media will remain imperceptible. It will remain unnoticeable, especially at least for the naked eyes. Why we need watermarking? There are a lot of reasons. There are a lot of areas, as you can see in this image, where the watermark can be applied, and it has been utilized for years actually. For example, ownership or copyright assertion, for sake of authentication, copy prevention and control, content protection, fingerprinting, in terms of imaging. For instance, when we talk about medical images or legal documents or legal images, so it's used for tamper detection or attack protection. These are few of many application areas that we need watermarking there. So protecting digital intellectual property is crucial to prevent infringement. Advances in digital generation, storage, and communication have led to new risks, actually, because this is era of digital media production. On the daily basis, we have been producing a huge amount of data all across, and at the same time, we want that it should be protected. So what we want, what the risk potential we can have are unrestricted copying of the digital contents, easy forgery and unauthorized editing, attacks on sensitive data like electronic health record, in particular in the case of medical images. Lack of protection raises concern in critical sectors like healthcare, businesses, and defense. So watermark is a widely used technique to secure data against illegal interferences. So why we are talking about digital image watermarking in the deep learning era? Because digital revolution has increased the need for watermarking to protect multimedia from unauthorized changes. On the other hand, deep learning has become a key focus in watermarking research, offering new architecture and solutions. Deep learning-based watermarking methods have shown superior performance compared to traditional techniques in their earlier experiments. So this session reviews a recent development in both conventional and deep learning approaches to image watermarking in particular. And we also see the effectiveness of deep learning watermarking that depends upon the chosen network architecture, especially in terms of invisibility and robustness. So now we'll quickly go through some background, because for those listeners, especially who are new to this terminology or technique, so quickly we'll give them some background, then we'll move on to the main part of this talk. So when we talk about the watermarking system, there are three main components. Firstly, the generation function, which is used to generate the watermark signal itself. Secondly, the embedded function, the way the art of embedding that generated signal or the message inside the target message, the target media. And finally, extracting, reversing the watermark out of the watermarked media, especially the images. So if you look at these two pictures, so the left-hand side is showing the encoder diagram, while right-hand side is showing the decoder diagram. On the left-hand side, we can see the original media is coming. Firstly, we apply some kind of transformation. So now we are getting the transform media. And now we are having the information to embed. We generate the signature. And that signature is embedded into this transformed media. So this embedded, this is embedding based upon some embedding algorithm. So the resultant image will be the watermark image. This is the image that will be transferred over the network. Upon receiving, that is passed to again the transformation to get again the effect of transformation back, and then we apply the detection algorithm, and then we will get the original media as well as the watermark. In certain cases, we will see that the watermark extraction, sometimes it's mandatory, sometimes it's not mandatory. So that's why it could be yes or no. So that is something that we'll talk about in the later slides. As far as the watermark classification is concerned, it has been used to a variety of media for a variety of purposes. For instance, when we talk about the classification, so sometimes in terms of perceptibility, sometimes watermark is visible. For example, when we are watching some news channel, so you can see the watermark, it's visible on the television. In terms of invisible, we can have robust, semi-fragile, and fragile. Robust means it will withstand any kind of attack. Semi-fragile, it will behave 50-50. And fragile, it will immediately speak about that whether some forgery have been held. In terms of host images, we can have audio, video, image, and text. These could all potentially be the host signals. The type of procedure that we apply, it could be non-blind, semi-blind, or blind. The way that we extract the media, the way that we extract the watermark at the receiver side. There are two domains where the watermark has been embedded. The spatial domain, it contains least significant bit method, spread spectrum method, correlation, and patchwork method. In transform domain, we have different kind of transform like wavelet transform, cosine transform, singular wavelet decomposition, and so on. We can have private, public, perceptual, and bit stream based watermarking system. So this is the general paradigm, general classification of the watermark that we use. So we can classify them according to their types. So robust, they survive against any kind of manipulation against the image. Fragile will detect manipulation. It is usually used for the authentication purposes that we need to make sure that everything is fine with the host image. Semi-fragile will be having some robustness as well as some authentication. According to their method of insertion, we have additive method where the watermark is embedded into the host image by means of manipulation of the bits of the image. We can have quantize and replace. We sometimes replace the bits of the source of the target image by the watermark. In terms of domain of insertion, as we talked about earlier, so we have transform domain, usually frequency domain or wavelet domain, and we are also having spatial domain where we embed the watermark directly into the image. In terms of method of detection, we have private way, requires original image at the time of detection to see, for example, everything is fine with the original with the transformed image, with the transmitted image. Sometimes we are talking about public or oblivious that does not require the original image at all. When we talk about a fragile watermark, it's likely to be destroyed and become undetectable out of friendly or malicious or any kind of attack that happen to the images. Fragility can be advantage for authentication purposes, so we can readily say that something wrong happened to the image, so we can discard it rather than accepting it. In terms of robust watermark, is the one that remains detectable after certain attacks. For instance, some common signal processing operations such as spatial filtering, lossy compression, printing and scanning, analog to digital conversion, resampling, cropping, and some intentional attacks. When we talk about semi-fragile, watermarking schemes are designed to make the system fragile against malicious attack, again tampering purposes, and they will robust against friendly attacks such as tampering method, for example, like compression and so on. So for this case, this will be robust. However, for the malicious attacks, it will be fragile. So the semi-fragile tolerates some degree of JPEG compression because the digital communication system, the requirement is to transfer the data having low size, and for that purpose, compression is used. So it is normally considered as a friendly attack. In terms of the insertion method, we are having additive. This means adding the watermark into the cover or source image based on some key value. In case of images, the watermark is added to the pixel of the original image using some operation like exclusive OR operations. So first of all, we select the region where the information is to be embedded, and then the information is embedded by means of addition. However, selection of the area or the region of the image is potentially a question that we talk about later on. For instance, LSB is one of the most commonly used embedding mechanism because usually it's thought that if we even temper the least significant bit of the pixel of the images, it won't make any effect of the image perceptual quality overall. When we talk about quantize and replace, now this is somewhere we actually are flexible in embedding. So the watermark is embedded into the original image based on some quantization method. For instance, spread spectrum watermarking, frequency hopping spread spectrum to determine position for watermark embedding in the original image. So this is normally done in a quantize and replace way. In spatial domain, when we are embedding something, it means that originally the images will be added, or originally the data will be added to the source image based on spatial domain criteria. So in this case, the least significant method falls under this criteria, or under this category, which is spatial watermark embedding. In terms of transform domain, which is usually used for the robust watermarking, it's embedding the original image after transformation. So for instance, the discrete wavelet transform is one of the famous mechanisms. Similarly, SVD based transformation is another method for embedding the watermark in the transform domain. They usually provide robustness against certain type of attacks, but it's not again generalized. It's not something one size fits all. We have to check, for example, that certain transforms they can withstand certain kind of attacks, but the others, they may not be. In terms of their public and private appearances, so private require original image at the receiver side to extract the watermark. Sometimes we have the copy of original image on the receiver side, but we just need to know that the image that we have just received is the original image and nothing wrong happened to it. So in this case, we have to have the copy of the original image at this receiver side. The most commonly used is the public one that does not require original image at the receiver side to extract the watermark. This is also known as blind watermark extraction, and the other one is called non-blind. In terms of reversibility, it's very important to see that sometimes we are also interested in the watermark as well as the source image on the receiver side. Sometimes we only are interested in the image, not in the watermark. And in some cases, we are also interested in the watermark only, while the cover image is just providing the cover actually. So in the watermarking system, if there is also recovery of the original image content along with the watermark information, then this type of watermarking is called reversible watermarking, which is the specific type of digital watermarking. It's a typical case of medical image watermarking system, where the medical image is also retrieved along with the watermark. In some cases, it is not necessary, particularly the case of information hiding, where the purpose is secret communication while the image was just a cover. Now we talk about the requirements that will actually give us a quick insight that where we can actually play our role, or where the digital with the deep learning can play its role. So these are the watermark requirements that we are looking into. There are three cases. There are three figure of merits, you can say, that that are involved in the digital image watermarking in particular. Interestingly, all three requirements are quite conflicting with each other. So first of all, we want the watermark should be imperceptible. This means after inserting the data into the source, into the cover image, its perceptual quality should not be destroyed. So at least for the naked eye, it should not be perceptible. In terms of robustness, should survive accidental or malicious attempts at the removal. So in this regard, we sometimes also utilize error correcting codes that are most widely used in this regard. But at the same time, when we want more robustness, this means if you are using error correcting codes, means the data size will potentially increase. The data size increase would require more capacity. And if you are embedding more information in the watermark, so this will actually deteriorate its perceptual quality of the image actually. So the capacity is the number of watermark bits or size that is to be embedded. So increase in capacity will definitely affect the imperceptibility, and as well as it may increase the robustness. So robustness and capacity, sometimes they go hand in hand. However, when we talk about the imperceptibility, that will capacity will hinder its quality. So the requirements are interrelated. For instance, with more capacity embedding caused degradation in the original image quality. Robustness need more information in capacity to protect the watermark. So the trade-off is always needed to meet these requirements. Whenever we are talking about some watermark system, so we have to actually make a complete pipeline where we can tell that what we want and what we can obtain with certain degree of trade-off. So what we are offering and what we want to obtain from the watermarking system. Quickly, we'll go through some common attacks in the watermarking system. So in this terminology, an attack is an event that can cause tampering in the image, thus making the watermark difficult to detect. So mainly attack can be divided into two parts. They're incidental or malicious. So incidental attacks are friendly attacks and are required sometimes as JPEG compression, for instance. In terms of geometric attacks, the attacker tries to distort the data by performing rotation, scaling, and translation. These are the three basic geometric attacks, or it could be a combination of any of the two or three. Therefore, geometric attacks are also termed as RST attack. Geometric attacks does not actually remove the embedded watermark, but attempt to desynchronize the watermark detector to extract the embedded information precisely. Spatial embedding approaches are more vulnerable to such kind of attacks, while as far as the transformation domain approaches are concerned, they withstand such kind of attacks usually. Because when we embed the watermark in the transform domain, it will not change the perspective of the watermark by applying these attacks. In terms of removal attacks, the attacker tries to completely remove the watermark from its associated content or partially. It also includes quantization, denoising, remodulation, and collusion attacks. In collusion attack, for instance, the successful attack can be made by taking only small part from each part of the copy, each mark with a different watermark. In remodulation attack, the attacker tries to predict the embedded watermark information by employing some algorithm. It can also be implemented by taking the difference between the watermark data and the median filtered watermark data. In case, for example, the attacker knows both copies, so he will be able to get this information. In quantizing and denoising attack, for instance, the attacker tries to damage the watermark quality as much as possible. So lossy compression does the same job as denoising too. In terms of cryptographic attack, the attacker tries to find a way to remove the embedded watermark information break by security method. So brute force is one of the famous algorithm that lies in this category, which the attacker tries to embed his own watermark in this in the cover image. Oracle attack also fall in this category, which can be used to generate a non-watermark when watermark detector device is available. Attackers are restricted from applying these attacks on watermark due to high computational complexity, however. Additionally, have some protocol attacks. So watermark inversion attack lies in the category in which the attacker produces a fake watermark schemes by watermark on the watermark data to create doubt that which watermark was inserted first. Because on the receiver side, the receiver is blind to this kind of attack. Copy attack, which is another kind of protocol attack in which the attacker tries to predict the watermark from the watermark data and then embed this into another data. In terms of nice attacks, sometimes these are malicious attacks, sometimes these are friendly attacks, and the nices can be of different type. They have different kind of behaviors. So accordingly, their behavior is noticeable, or sometimes they can deteriorate the watermarked image. So one of them is additive white Gaussian noise, AWGN, having a uniform distribution. It can attack all the frequencies equally. We can have salt and pepper noise. We can have short noise, quantization noise, film grain, periodic noise. So all these noises, they can be provided by certain kind of attackers, and they can destroy the quality of the watermark, and sometimes both watermark and the source images both. In particular, we are interested in the medical image watermarking. It's one of the hottest area of research because in the medical industry, we have been employing different kind of rules, different laws have been established. The purpose is to ensure integrity of patient data and the medical images. It's among the hottest area of the research. Medical images are vulnerable to several kinds of attacks such as tampering and theft, etc. Authentication and or protection of the patient health record is of primary concern worldwide. For instance, in US, for example, we are having HIPAA Act that was passed in 1996, and the idea is to protect the patient health information. In this regard, picture archiving and communication system is a medical imaging technology used primarily in healthcare organization to securely store and digitally transmit electronic images in clinically relevant reports. For instance, here in Saudi Arabia, this is represented by Ministry of Health. It provides an integrated network or healthcare services covering all the regions. The much anticipated personal data protection law came in effect on 14 September 2023 in Saudi Arabia with data control that gives 12 months to comply. Although this period is extended, but eventually they are also going to implement this law as well. In terms of evaluation criteria for the image digital image watermarking, we have two main criteria. Firstly, the peak signal to noise ratio is a structured index similarity of two measuring tools that are widely used in the image quality assessment. Especially in the watermark image, these two instruments are used to measure the quality of imperceptibility. One of the way to judge the imperceptibility is by the naked eye, but most of the time it's not possible. So in order to see that how much image was imperceptible, we have to employ this test. So typical values are the PRSNR is lossy image between 30 to 50 dBs, provide the bit depth is 8 bit for the grayscale images. The processing quality of 12-bit images is considered high when the PSNR value lies between 60 to 80 dBs. For 16-bit, it's go beyond 60 or 80 and so on. This means higher the bits the image is representing, we have to have more PSNR values to ensure that the image was imperceptible. Another means for measuring the criteria for evaluation is correlation coefficients. It is a measure of robustness in the digital image watermarking, that how much image will withstand certain kind of attacks. The correlation coefficient is a statistical measure for the strength of the linear relationship between the two variables. So normally we are find the correlation between the image before and after watermark. So it will be between -1 to 1. So here W and W prime are representing original and watermark images respectively. So the higher values of correlation coefficient refer to higher values of robustness of the scheme and vice versa. This means more it's closer to 1. This means more this image will be robust against certain kind of attacks. Now we talk about potential challenges that we face in the traditional watermarking techniques and how potentially deep learning can help us in this regard. In the recent healthcare, medical imaging plays a significant role throughout the entire clinical process, from diagnostic and treatment, planning to surgical procedures, and the follow-up studies. So first of all, the quality of cover image. So during the acquisition of medical images is in the most imaging modalities typically suffer from one of the following challenges usually. Let's say low resolution. In spatial and spectral domains, for instance, we are having high level of noise, low contrast values, geometric deformation, and presence of imaging artifacts. So low resolution and low contrast imperfections can be avoided by finer spatial sampling, which may be obtained through a longer acquisition time. Nonetheless, that would also increase the probability of geometric transformations like patient movement and thus cause the blurring in the image. So the image artifact also end up in challenging problem in the analysis of the medical images end of the day. Second issue that we usually observe in the traditional digital image watermarking is the data set size. So the size of medical image data set is crucial for the medical image watermarking systems. Thirdly, the computational cost. So due to large data set of medical images, for example, in the PACS, we are having hundreds and thousands of images at the same time for one procedure, let's say for MRI, for instance, for one patient, let's say. So this huge data set would require definitely a huge computational cost for sake of embedding and retrieving the watermark. So image processing and visualization algorithm must be adjusted with the advanced parallelization techniques and the architectures, mainly using supercomputers with involving certain GPUs to perform this task. The fourth challenge is segmentation. In traditional approaches, it is done manually by inserting a triangle, rectangle, or some polygon that will differentiate between the region of interest and the region of no interest. For example, in the medical images, when we see, for example, certain regions, they are not conveying any message about the patient health. So we can embed certain watermark in those regions. So in the traditional techniques, usually that segmentation is performed by using by placing a polygon to distinguish between region of interest and region of no interest. So it's a problem of extracting anatomical structure for quantitative shape analysis or visualization of the medical image, also known as region of interest. This area must be segregated adequately from the region of no interest, where the watermark is supposedly embedded. So in region of interest, there must not be watermark embedded. However, in the RONI, we always find the region to embed the watermark in this region. So this is the desert in the image where we can hide the watermark. Segmentation should be fast, easy to use, robust with regard to image artifacts, and as an automatic as possible in the ideal clinical applications. So definitely this is where the digital image watermarking can play a crucial role. We can employ the deep learning algorithm to automatically segment the data depending upon the nature of the image. It can segregate between region of interest and region of no interest. So for instance, in front of you, I have shown certain images with segmentation applied over there. So let's say in the first image, left-hand side, you can see that this rectangle have been drawn by the traditional approaches. So this means this region must not be utilized for embedding the watermark. However, it can be embedded anywhere outside. Similarly, in this second case, you see this red rectangle here showing this region of interest, and the watermark can be embedded outside. Similarly, sometimes this is also possible to divide the same image into multiple region of interest, and then we can embed the watermark accordingly. So this is where potentially we can employ the deep learning models to automatically they can also maximize the region of no interest where the watermark can be embedded more, because we always need to seek more regions where the watermark can be embedded. The fifth thing is fusion. This is related to registration, which aims fusing images for the same region acquired from different modalities. For instance, MRI and CT are putting in correspondence images of one patient at different times or different patients. This is also one of the issue with the traditional watermarks, where we can, it's really hard to differentiate between the images of the same patient and where the same or different watermarks can be embedded. Potentially, the sixth part is the most important part, where embedding and extraction technology is concerned, because most of the technique that we use in the traditional part, they play their role over here in terms of transform domain or spatial domain. So this is where the deep learning approaches can be employed. So several approaches have been proposed in the literature for watermark embedding and extraction. These schemes differ in the spatial and transform domain. As I mentioned early on, no scheme is one size fits all. Sometimes one technique is better in one way. For example, embedding is better, but extraction may not be better, and so on and so forth. So the effectiveness is greatly challenged due to the current medical imaging requirements, including image quality, size, dimension, and required performance level. Another issue with the traditional techniques, traditional digital image watermark techniques, is compatibility with DICOM and PACS-based imaging. The medical image watermarking approaches are expected to comply with the standards and formats introduced by the healthcare sector. For instance, DICOM and PACS are the pioneer in this regard. While DICOM standardizes the format and transformation of medical images, PACS provides a comprehensive system for storing and managing these images eventually. Together, they enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of medical imaging, ultimately improving the patient care. Now we talk about, I have already highlighted certain areas where machine learning, deep learning, and can be employed in the digital image watermarking. So all these 7 areas are potentially the challenges in the traditional techniques, where are the opportunities for the deep learning to play its role. So AI is significantly transforming the landscape of diagnostic imaging in healthcare. This technology, which integrates sophisticated algorithms and machine learning, represents a considerable advancement in interpretation and utilization of medical images such as X-rays, MRIs, and CTs. For instance, AI-powered medical imaging can analyze data point in a medical report to distinguish a disease from a healthy part, or let's say from the noise. AI-based medical imaging has been widely used to identify complex patterns in the imaging data, provide quantitative evaluation of radiographic traits. And in this regard, a lot of work already have been done, and people have been trying different kind of architectures for digital image watermarking. So deep learning methods have been emerged as powerful approaches for image enhancement. These techniques leverages large data set and complex neural network architecture to learn pattern and features within the images, enabling them to restore and enhance image with impressive results. So various architectures, as I mentioned, have been investigated in this regard. So you can see that we have mentioned 6 most widely used architectures in this regard. So we see, for example, GAN and CNN, they have the major chunk in this regard. Now we talk about some opportunities for deep learning in digital image watermarking. So first of all, improving quality of the cover image. Because better the cover image will be, it will be more room for embedding. It will travel in a robust way. It can easily be detected on the receiver side by using the known algorithms. So deep learning algorithms exhibit great potential in improving the quality of medical images. For instance, CNN have been successfully employed in the image denoising in this study. Similarly, for image deblurring, geometric retrieval deep learning can be potential candidate, as mentioned in this study. Super resolution techniques using deep learning model to enhance the resolution of the images are also one of the region. In terms of dataset size and dimension reduction, deep learning algorithms exhibit great potential in dataset reduction without losing the potential information. In this regard, learning vector quantization is a prototype-based supervised classification algorithm. It's a supervised counterpart of vector quantization systems. It can be understood as a special case of an ANN. More precisely, it applies with this learning-based approach. It's a precursor of self-organizing maps that are related to neural gas and k-nearest KNN algorithm. It was invented by this gentleman. It is used for lossy data compression, data correction, pattern recognition, density estimation, and clustering. So it has a lot of application areas by using which we can employ these techniques for sake of dimensionality reduction of the medical images, so that the overall size of the image can be reduced, but at the same time, the quality should not be deteriorated. In terms of computational cost, although the deep learning methods also exhibit a huge cost in terms of their computational performance, however, in certain cases, this can be reduced or this can be optimized in certain way. It's a measure of number of computing resources that a particular algorithm consumes when it runs. So floating point operations or max are the metrics that are commonly used to calculate the computational complexity of the deep learning models. They are fast and easy way to understand the number of arithmetic operations required to perform a given computation. So the techniques such as quantization, pruning, knowledge isolation, weight sharing, factorization, low rank approximation, and dynamic network surgery has been developed to manage model complexity by reducing size either before or after training. So once the model has been trained and it is potentially optimized, it can now do the job in a quicker fashion. In terms of image segmentation, a lot of room is there in this region where the deep learning can play its role crucially, and we had conducted several studies. One of the success story is that we have employed image segmentation approach in a recent study where we have successfully mentioned the image points. Based on that, we actually calculated the acetabular index of the patient, and based on which we have seen that, for example, whether there was any implications. So deep learning algorithm automatically extract features from data which may be used to segment it. These models can learn complex characteristics that are difficult to specify manually. Even if we are doing when the things are being done manually by employing, for example, even freehand tool, or whether we are applying polygons, still we cannot exactly distinguish between the region of interest and the region of no interest. Again, if the data set is more, it's really hard to do this job manually. So this job can be done easily by deep learning approaches. Some popular model for this regard for semantic segmentation include fully convolution network, UNet, DeepLab, and PSPNet. These models leverage the power of convolution neural networks to extract features and classify pixels in complex medical images more accurately. Threshold-based segmentation, graph-based segmentation, morphological-based segmentation, edge-based segmentations, clustering-based segmentation, Bayesian, and neural network-based segmentation are some of the best image segmentation approaches in the model that can be employed. They all have their own pros and cons, but at the same time, they can be effective in certain medical image segmentation cases. In terms of image fusion, refer to process of combining two or more images into one composite image which integrates the information contained within the individual image. So various techniques of image fusion can be classified as pixel level, decision level, and feature level. For instance, feature level techniques for image fusion entails the extraction of relevant features, that is pixel intensities, textures or edges that are compound to create supplementary merged features in this regard. In decision level fusion techniques for images, the input images are processed one at a time for the extraction of the information. Image fusion method based on deep learning can continuously adjust the quality of the used images through the training process, while traditional fusion method can only improve the quality of fused images by manually adjusting the algorithm rules. In terms of embedding and extraction technology, so again, deep learning has potential role over here. We can employ different kind of deep learning approaches. Even the transformer can be applied for embedding and extracting the watermark into the cover image. So it can utilize the potential technology for efficient watermark embedding and extracting synchronously. Some methods involve training a neural network to insert visible watermark into images while preserving the original image quality at the same time. For instance, in this study, the watermark can be extracted from the watermark images using a separate neural network, allowing the ownership of the image to be verified, which is an asynchronous approach. For instance, we can see this is one of the most commonly utilized architecture for embedding and extracting the digital watermark by using deep learning approaches. Finally, the compatibility with DICOM and PACS-based imaging. Over the course of the treatment, patients often switch to different hospitals, different practices, requiring staff at the new hospital to import external imaging studies to their local databases. Deep learning approaches have been shown potential in compliance with the DICOM format-related image processing applications. Deep learning combined with the metadata matching is a promising and flexible approach for the automated classification of external DICOM studies for PACS archiving, modality mapping and orchestration, that's known as MOMO, deep learning based approach to automate this mapping process by combining metadata analysis and neural network ensemble a neural network based approach. It is. So it can successfully be applied for this purpose so that these resultant images can be complying with the DICOM and the PAC-based imaging. Now I'll go for summary and conclusion. So this summary shows that deep learning can be a potential successful candidate in the digital image watermarking. A lot of research directions can be seen in this diagram. So we can employ the deep learning approaches in a variety of contexts. For example, we can utilize them as an embedded extracting technology for the joint training, separate training for synchronous or asynchronous based approaches. We can use them for as a feature transformation. They can be employed in the spatial domain as well as in the frequency domain, embedding equally. This could be effective. We can also go for the hybrid method, where we can investigate multiple networks for embedding and extracting the digital watermarks. In conclusion, digital image watermarking is general and medical image watermarking in particular is among the hottest areas of research in medical images for security and privacy. There are various aspects of digital image watermarking to investigate. For example, embedding, extraction, segmentation, archiving. Traditional watermarking schemes are powerful yet exhibit several limitations due to the development in the field of healthcare and image processing and the requirements that are at hand. On the other hand, deep learning model can be potential candidates to be investigated for solving various aspects of digital image watermarking. In particular, various research directions are open and have significant room for improvement. Researchers and medical experts can collaborate to produce enhanced solutions in this regard. Finally, mainly the theme of my talk was about the digital image watermarking, and in particular, we talk about the medical image watermarking. However, this is not end of the story. We can enhance the same discussion for the voice-based, for the video-based digital watermarking, for other media-based digital watermarking. So all these areas are potentially regions to be explored in the digital in the deep learning era. So that is all from my side. Thank you very much for listening. Your questions are welcome.